This podcast is in association with the Blast Wing Shooting Kennels, the Rush of the Flush Hunt Club, and is sponsored by American Natural Premium Dog Food, B Mountain Knife Works, and the National Bird Dog Circuit.
We be rocking. We be rocking. Shake.
47 to the line, 48 in the holding blind, 49, 50, and 51, get ready. All right, that's the marshal getting us ready to go at the hunt test. And since we're in hunt test mode, back here for episode number 7 of Wing Masters. Truth be told, I'm here with Alec Kysely, and we're excited to have another show for you today. Actually not doing it late night this time. Actually doing it on a Saturday that I'm actually off. This is so weird that I'm not at a hunt test right now because we're in complete hunt test mode. And it actually feels good to just be like a normal person for a weekend, except for all I'm realizing right now is all the stuff I'm behind on. So all I'm doing is washing clothes, cleaning things up, just throwing everything out, just going straight to Goodwill. Like I had a whole truckload this morning with the Goodwill. I'm like, I'm done with it. If I haven't worn it in a year, I haven't done it here. If I've been looking at it and it's been sitting in a corner for a year, you're going to Goodwill.
If you want, hey, this is a tip. This is a tip that's not for hunt tests, not for dogs. If you have an old printer that still works, you can take it to Goodwill.
Yeah, there's a tip for you. Yeah, we had 3 old printers. I had 3 old printers, and they still worked. They just didn't work for what I was looking for. I finally got the printer I needed. So, hey, Goodwill, you take printers? Yep. All right, well, beautiful. All right, you got a bunch of hunting vests and a bunch of camo, Under Armour, and everything else I got. Whatever else was in the closet that was good stuff that didn't fit me anymore. I just didn't wear over the years. But we're excited to be back with you today as the year is busy and we're in hunt test mode. On the last episode, I think it felt like it was a great episode because it was very informative, but, you know, almost like lecture style. I'd like to keep this a little bit more lighter on what's going on in the hunt test, what a master test entails, some stories about some of the dogs that have been doing good this year, the baby steps of the training that's got there. I got into such a detailed moment of everything that's involved in a senior hunt test. And instead of boring you with everything that's involved in a master hunt test, I know that's important, so I'm going to explain that. But I want to try to keep this light and go into a little bit more behind the scenes of what happens at like a master test and what happens on a finished dog level. So these 3 episodes, starting with junior, and we talked about a foundation duck dog. All right. Now we went to senior, and we talked about a seasoned duck dog, a dog that is seasoned. It's had a season or 2. It has basic handling skills. It's running basic multiple marks. You can run a blind 75, whatever yards. And now we're to a master hunter level dog, and which in the retriever world in terms of training, we would call a finished dog. And I think the word finished, I think the word master, and then above master, like if you wanted to, so let's say you got your master title, like, well, what would be above master? Well, then you would start kind of working your way into field trials or the Master National. So the Master National, something we'll touch on later, but the Master National is a national level testing. So you do your weekend test during the year, and you can qualify to go to the Master National, which we'll talk about in a bit because what we're doing with a few dogs right now. Above that would be a qualifying field trial, which means now you're going to go run longer marks, longer blinds, and first and second place is what gets you the title. You don't just get a ribbon and get so many passes and you earn a title. But nonetheless, we'll stay off that subject for right now because we want to stay with what a master and a finished dog encompasses and what the differences is for you owning this style of dog.
All right, well, I got the first question off that everybody's wondering. I send you my dog. How long is it going to take for him to become a master hunter? On average, what am I expecting to look at? How long does it take for you to build a master hunter if I send it to you? Say at 6 months, ready for bird and gun and gun conditioning and then force fetch. What am I looking at?
minimum of 18 months just to start.
And a lot of people don't realize how that's that long.
Yeah, a minimum of 18 months. That's to get to Master Hunter level. You'd say 18 to 22 months of training. So the dog's 6 months old. Okay. And then you got to take your 2 or 3 months to actually title them.
And then it depends on each dog and how they test.
We have to remember that. You have to remember that at a hunt test, there isn't an e-collar. Yep. So a dog has to hang with you. And I was just thinking about this over this last weekend. I was at Tri-State Retriever Club in Iowa, and it was brutally hot over the weekend. And I had another great weekend. But I was just thinking about that. I'm like, to keep a dog. So let's just describe this for 1 second. Let me sideline and to keep a dog going this because it rides the point that I'm leading into. If I have to get 6 passes in a master title, there's 3 series in 1 weekend. So now for your master test, we have to do 1 land series. We have to do one total water series, and we have to do a land water combo. All right. There has to be 1 series with 2 blinds. So they can put that in any one of the series. They can so one of the series has 2 blinds in it. One of the series can have a single blind, and then one of the series has no blinds. All right. So you got a series that has a double blind, a series that has a single blind, and a series that has no blinds. All right. So you also got the walk up we talked about in scenery. You also got the honoring another dog. So I don't think I have to describe that much because what I talked about in the senior, if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to that episode. It's pretty informative. What you're adding now is a mark in. You're adding another series, and you're adding some more intricate details that become a lot more important.
I got a quick question. Do they have to throw a diversion bird ever? I know they have to do a diversion shot to let you know that there's a blind, but do they ever actually have to throw a diversion?
No, they don't have to. It's a choice.
It's a choice for the judges.
Yeah, in the HRC, it's required.
Okay. Not AKC.
But in AKC, is not required. So most of the time it's a diversion shot. And here's the reason why, guys. So if you're like, oh, yeah, we never see a diversion bird in AKC, I'll kind of tell you why that is because you're thinking about time management. So like if you're running an HRC, as long as we're on the subject for 2 seconds, you're running an HRC, you can get 2 HRC passes, which is their finished level pass, in 1 weekend. You can run a Saturday and a Sunday and get 2 passes in 1 weekend. The reason why you're able to do that is because all they do is run a land and run a water for 1 pass. A master test runs a land water. It has 3 series to get 1. So back to my point I was leading into when we started onto this was that to complete 3 series or complete 18 series. Okay, so that means I need 6 passes of 3 series. Okay, which means I need 3 of 6, which means I have to run 18 passable blinds, right? I have to, and it means that I have to pick up 9. There could be a double, but let's just say 9. Okay, 9 times 6, I have to pick up 54 different marks. I have to run 18 passable blinds. And the only way I can stay in a pass is if all 3 series are completed for 1 pass. So that's not to say that I don't go to 1 test, complete 2 series or complete all 3 series and just don't pass, right? Because it wasn't a makeable score. Right, so
because usually a lot of times, say you have an iffy 1 and 2, but it's all right. It comes down to your 3rd series. So now they're like, this dog's either going to step up, and if you don't step up, it's not just going to be an average
right.
series. If it's an average series, they're not passing.
Right. So a good set of judges. I saw it over the weekend too, and I've been seeing the last 2 weekends. I mean, the last time we guys talked to you, this has been a heck of a busy summer, so we're not able to hop on as fast as we're wanting to hop on here. But you're right. I could get a gift at going to a 3rd. So if you got a good set of fair judges, they're going to set you up nice tests. They're going to judge fair, and you're going to be going to a 3rd. They might say something as the test dog's running into 3rd that says, hey, and I'll give you an example. All right. I'm going into the 3rd over the weekend, and they had run 2 triples, right? Okay. And excuse me, I was going into the 2nd. Yeah, I was going into the 2nd. All right. They said in the beginning of the 2nd, the test dog's running. The judges said, we're gonna run a double tomorrow because of the heat. Does everybody understand me? We're gonna run double tomorrow as we heat. Meaning, if I had a handle in the 1st, all right, I gotta have the series 2 clean, or I'm not going to 3rd because you have to have 1 clean series. And some judges want you to have 2 clean triples. You have to have 1 clean triple to move on. Now, that is not a rule. I have passed dogs before where I handled in every single series and they give me a pass. They average it for me. I would probably say those passes were pretty good blessings from pretty honorable or pretty what would you say, lenient judges. Okay.
But it also plays a factor of, hey, dog starts to go for the memory bird that he already picked up. You quick tweet and give him one over, and he instantly to that other bird.
Right.
So that's always they could be taking how easy was it for you to handle your dog? Because you make a choppy handle for your say you handle him twice and your second one was just choppier than heck.
Right.
You're okay, yeah, no, this ain't gonna work.
Right. And so I'd handled Cowboy, for example, in the first. He pounds the first 2 marks in a second. He's going for the third, and he's going to miss this thing by 6 inches. So I stop him and put him on the bird quickly. All right. And I just did that because I'm like, well, he's just going to go get in trouble, and then I got to see if he's going to, and if he ends up over here, he ends up there. It's very tight marks. And when it came to the third, they dropped him. They did not allow the two to go fast. Am I mad? No. That's what the judges had asked at the beginning of that series. So they basically told us that you need a clean series. I didn't get my 2 clean series, so Cowboy was out, even though he smoked everything else and ran beautiful blinds and everything else. So it's just the criteria in which a judge asks, of what you're doing. Now, for example, same test. Got a clean triple on both. Got a good blind on the first. Going to the last series, there's a double blind, a double and a double blind, and do the first blind perfectly, run the last blind of the test, and this dog that I won't mention his name totally blows me off. All right, and as he blows me off, I'm out. On literally the last thing to do, I'm out. I did the whole weekend perfect.
Scorch loved pulling that on you.
Yeah, and I've had multiple dogs that love pulling this on me. Okay, I can think of about a handful off the top of my head. All right, I'm literally on the last blind and I'm out, and I literally pick them up on the last blind, and they say, leash them up, and then I got to honor and lead. Literally, do it on the last one. I mean, there's nothing more painful than being like, here it is, one more blind, back, boom, tweet back, tweet back, tweet back. He blows you off on all of them. Pretty soon he's freaking running in no man's land. You're like, just get your dumb ass in here. You know what I mean?
Did you have to walk out and get him?
This time I didn't have to walk out and get him. Other dogs had to walk out and get him because once they went haywire, it really went haywire. All right, so I mean, those are some of the. So I mean, I think for a dog to hold it together for 18 passable series, which means they have to be in conjunction in threes to get the pass. So I might have, let's just say a dog went 6 for 8. Okay, and there's 18 series that got his title. I might have actually passed 24 of those series.
Yeah.
But it didn't count because I didn't finish all 3 together. So you guys need to understand that for what a master test is. And you might be saying right now, Mike, we don't really care about master tests. We just care about a master style hunting dog. Well, that's fine. But again, like I've mentioned in my tidbits and what we've been mentioning on these podcasts, is these are standards of training in which you need to understand. All right. And if you ever want to go to a hunt test and really challenge yourself, it's the same thing as an upland tournament dog. I mean, it always cracks me up. I don't need that. I have the best duck picking up dog you ever seen. He picks up 300-400 birds a year. All right. Well, then let's see how great he is by running a hunt test then. It's the same guy that's sitting at the hunt club drinking beer telling me I have the best pheasant dog ever seen. He tracks down all these roosts down there. They're in the dogs. But all right, well, then come to a BDC tournament and let's see how good you're shooting and how good this dog actually is. Right. So the old Theodore Roosevelt quote, I'll simplify it, but it's a really good one, and everybody pretty much knows what I'm about to say. But basically, it comes down to talk is cheap. The honor goes to the man who's actually in the arena, is the old Theodore Roosevelt. You guys know what I'm talking about. There's a long quote to that. All right. And that means that if you actually put yourself on a line and actually show up and actually try something new, and if you fail, it's okay because you were actually in the arena. All right. People are sitting on the sideline saying they can do it better than you. Their dog can run better blinds than you, but they never ran a hunt test. Okay. Well, there's armchair quarterbacks again. You know what I mean? In the hunt test world again. It's like, all right, well, that's fine. I can throw better than Brett Favre, even though he threw an interception and he's making millions. I can throw better than Brett Favre. We got to fire him. Back in the day when Brett Favre was throwing interceptions all the time, everybody's like, oh, that fucking Brett Favre. They got to get rid of him. He's too much interception. Then he'd win the game. On like this Hail Mary out of nowhere. And everybody's like, I love Brett Favre. I love Brett Favre. Okay, just freaking, I mean, it's just unreal. Same with Aaron Rodgers, but Brett Favre was, we're correlating Master Hunt Test with a finished level dog, right? And you need that for standards of training. So, for example, I train some really nice senior dogs. And like Eider and Hank and Ember right now and Rux, and they're like my senior dog team right now. And I'm missing like Belle and Ruby and the other Ruby and two Dukes, Rangerwood's Duke and the other Duke from Iowa. And you know, I got a team of seniors right now. And if you watch them run on my setups and training, Chaos too, Chaos included, starting at his senior. We can talk about that in a little while too. Starting about his senior career starting up here. Okay, if you watch the seniors run on my trailer and then you watch the masters run, you can see a distinct difference in memory, accuracy, trust, hanging with me. There's a big level change difference. So, like those, like
you wouldn't believe it. It's
yeah.
You literally, it's not that, but you can see it. Like that one season that they have on the other dogs. Oh boy.
Yeah.
And it's not because of the training; it's just that they're one season behind.
Yeah.
You know, they've literally had that much more consecutive training.
Correct. So you got to have something to measure your training by. That's why a junior hunter, senior hunter, master hunter. So if I said to you, oh, that's a nice senior hunter level dog, that means he's a nice seasoned dog. He does some good general stuff. If I say, ooh, that's a strong master hunter, you know. But I also know weak master hunters. I trained some weak master hunters, meaning like they got a master title, but it was pretty average, you know, or below average every time they got a pass, right? So technically that dog is probably a high level senior, but you know, he skimped by on getting some master.
I want to know your thoughts on something.
All right.
I can't remember. I don't know if it's you who brought it up previously. I know somebody brought it up, but some people will say that a master hunter doesn't mean a lot in terms of breeding because you can pretty much make a master hunter. Like you can, if you just keep going and keep training. Like, so say he's a master hunter at 7. Well, you look at his pedigree, oh, this dog's out of a master hunter. Well, it took him, 30 different tests and he got 6 passes out of 30. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you prove that he's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know you can look up their records on, I forget the website.
Yeah, Answer Express. Yeah, so.
Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say that, okay, great question. About 3 different answers running in my head right now. Let's start with answer number 1. Answer number 1 is you would talk about age, right? So your answer number 1 would be, okay, how old is the dog when he's running masters? All right, I'll just say that. Okay. Answer number 2 would be, okay, what is the consistency? What problem did he run into during his career that caused him to not be passing? What problem was that, and what problem did you have to overcome? Because some dogs are failing on one problem, and they got 3, 4, 5 fails, but it's the same because of that one problem. So you're trying to fix it and try to get the title. So is that dog really a bad dog? No, there was a problem issue that caused him not to pass as much. Where had that problem been able to be fixed earlier or sidelined earlier, it would have been better. And then your number 3 would be like, okay, well, how long does this take? Like you said, as he's 7 years old, which is kind of back to age. And then when did you start him and when did you finish him? So do you think, honestly, you can make any dog, I don't care what dog it is, I don't care if it has worse genetics, like what Englishes are bred for, being house dogs, being, they're just more laid back, not like Americans. Do you think you could pretty much dang near turn any dog into a master hunter? Like in terms of AKC registered dog, purebred labs. Do you think you could turn any dog if you had I don't care if it would take you 6 years. Do you think you could? And not now. This is not like a no. I'm listening.
I'm not. If you say yes, I don't.
No, truth be told, truth be told here. That's why I'm.
Yeah.
That's why I'm looking for the right answer to come to mind.
Do you think, or even a better question is, do you think any type of dog with enough training could become a master hunter? It doesn't matter what it's out of. Like in terms of AKC registered labs. I'm talking about AKC labs right now. Because I was kind of thinking about that today.
Good one. This is a good one. It'd be twofold in my mind right now. I'm not coming up with the best. I got the best answers that I'm doing, but in terms of all the way around, like full circle, like how long is it going to take? It takes them 10 years to get a master. Can any dog do it? If you had all the time in the world, your percentages are probably pretty high. If you got all the time in the world, meaning like, you know what, I don't care if he gets a master hunter until he's 7 or 8. Yeah. I don't care. Okay, then your probability is pretty high because you could be training the dog and building his confidence for years on end. If you were to say, okay, in a little easier way of a question is be like, well, how many dogs do you feel can be master hunters in their 2-year-old year? So meaning like, okay, well, first off, there's been some master hunters that have been like I think the youngest one is 12 or 13 months.
Something like that, yep.
Okay. And the youngest one I did was 19 months. Okay.
And who was that?
And that was a dog named Gypsy.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
And she actually went
like, is that
like
your
6
first
for
pass?
11.
Is that your first pass or is that finished?
No, it's finished. She was a title at 19 months. So she was running at 16 months, but she actually went like 6 for 12.
And if you don't,
she was only passing
the age,
50,
you'd be like,
yeah. And if you don't know the age, you'd be like 6 for 12. She's passing 50% of the time. That was okay. So,
but then you say, hey, she was only a year.
And this is actually what I got written down in my notes right now on my cool iPad right here, which is on my nice notepad with a pad. Because I got a brand new iPad and I just don't use it. I said, Mike, you can draw on your iPad. You even got an iPad pencil.
Oh man.
Oh no, look at here. I just got the old school frickin' pad and paper. It's way better. So anyway, but that's part of it is because each master hunter has a story. And so everyone has a story. So if you're talking about averages, so they say that only 10% of master hunters are master hunters in their 2-year-old year. So if you look at it from my standpoint, or look at it the way I usually make every master hunter before they're 3. So then every dog that's ever been with me has been in the top 10% averages, right? But if you looked at them on paper, if you looked at them on their records, they might be 6 for 13. They might be 6 for 8.
Right before
they might be 6. They might be 6 for 15 because I went 4 passes in a row, had 5 fails, and then had to come back for 2 more passes. Okay, I've had everything under the sun happen in a title. So like when somebody this brings up a really good point on different stuff that people bring up. It's like, oh well, my average passes is 85%, and I don't take any. I was
literally thinking about this too.
I don't take any dogs. I don't take any dogs if they're going to ruin my averages because I got to protect myself on retrieval results, knowing what type of master hunter trainer I am. And it's like, all right, man. Okay, that's cool. You want to protect yourself. You want to ride it all the way. You want to ride on the safe side, and then you're making a bunch of 3, 4, 5, or a bunch of 4, 5, 6-year-old master hunters. All right, if that's what I do, like there's guys that believe that a dog shouldn't run a master test until they're 3 years old. But if you were to do that, and you were thinking about it, since we're talking about truth be told, and we're talking about the correlation with hunting, okay, well then you would never have your dog hunting for the first 3 years. Because that's what some trainers believe. Some trainers believe, do not take your dog hunting for a hunting season until I get its title. That's a whole nother subject.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You're not going to take this dog hunting until I get its title. So the dog's going to stay in training. So if you thought about that, you would never take this dog that you bought for hunting, you never take it hunting. All my clients are like, Mike, get the son of a bitch done this summer because I'm leaving for a hunting trip in October.
And we've always talked about how beneficial, like say you just built somebody a junior dog, and then you know that they're going to be coming back for a seasoned training, 4 or 5 months, whatever. That's one of the best things you could possibly do for them is take them real life hunting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm different than most of them. Oh man, right now, if trainers heard my stuff right now, they would freaking just chastise me up and down. They'd freaking be writing on the old feet.
Well, I just want to stand at the line and learn.
They'd be writing
not throw birds.
They'd be writing on the old F book. Freaking, oh my God, Vaughn is freaking out of his mind. I can't believe he lets some guys take his clients to go hunting. It's like, oh my God, what'd you buy the dang dog for? I have a dog right now that has an issue where he'll start hunting on his blinds if it gets over 70 or 75 yards. So I'll send him, and he plays a lot of upland tournaments. I'll send him. I'll do good up until about 75 yards. Then as it gets about 75 yards, okay, I better be able to get a cast or two that he can carry Because the further he gets away from me, the more hunty he gets. All right. Now that's hard problem to solve. That's a hard issue for me to solve, especially this year since we have so much rain and I can't get long blinds run, right? I mean, frick, around here, everywhere you look, there's gosh dang hay everywhere. It's still standing, and it's frickin' June 29th right now, or whatever the date is, June 30th, whatever. And we got hay standing in the fields, and I can't even get out. I'm looking out my window right now. I can't even get on my own fields to train right now because the hay ain't cut. So on my new 40 north of my house, I cut a spot specifically for training, but I can't get 150, 250 yard blinds out of that piece that I cut, right? So I try to get 100, 125. Maybe I can stretch a little 150er. I'm going to cut it this afternoon to get it going. But so that dog failed some test because of that problem.
Yep. Right?
And I will say this too, as long as we're on a little bit of this subject right now, is this. Okay, I thought about this. So that same dog was the last series, and he goes to the memory bird, and as he goes to the memory bird, he gets lost. He's about to go back to the bigger bird. It's really tight. So I handle him 3 or 4 whistles to get him to the bird. I use my mulligan. I had a mulligan built up for that series, so I was like, perfect. No problem, I get a mulligan. But here's the thing that you need to know. If I handle on a mark, and I use them whistles up to get him casting to that bird, okay, when it comes to a blind now, I've used up cast already. So
of him accepting them?
Of him accepting them.
No, yeah, so nothing like with the judge. You're just saying
No. I of him accepting them in the dog's mind.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Okay, in the dog's mind. So, let's say I got to handle him on a bird and I blow the whistle, tweet, and I give him an over and he fades back. Tweet, I give him an over and he fades back. Tweet, I give him an angle, he gives back, and he kind of starts hunting, and he hunts out and finally finds it, right? Because I don't know exactly where the bird is because it's on a mark, and I'm handling him to the mark. All right? I know he's in the area. I know I'm safe because the judges say handle to the bird. I handle him to the bird, but now I got to have him dig it out. Well, I just told him, go ahead and take my cast and hunt.
Yeah.
Until you find that bird, because in that fall area, I don't have a marker. I don't have exactly where it is. So I'm going to put you in the general area, and then you're going to have to, okay, now I got to turn around a blind. Okay?
I can see where this
and
is
so now psychologically, with this particular dog I'm talking about, psychologically that's a problem for me. Because each whistle I blow that he's learned that he can hunt more, okay, is one less whistle I got control on. So that's a little tidbit for you guys right there. That's some high-end information there. If you're not understanding what I'm saying on that, it doesn't matter on the hunt, because if you decide to go too hunty on me on the hunt and you get crazy, I'm going to nail you with the e-collar and tell you to calm down. You know, unless you're going to be other training systems and not use an e-collar and just let them run around out there. We're talking.
Well, I thought everything's supposed to go perfectly.
Everything's supposed to go perfectly.
There's no problem.
Yeah, training systems out there with no e-collar. Everything's supposed to go perfect. There's never no problem. Dog never blows you off. He just casts out there perfectly for you all the time.
They never pop.
Mm-hmm. They never pop or take the wrong cast. So yeah, it's that's a piece of point. But so back to where our conversation came off of was, can you turn? Alex started this with, can you turn any dog into a master? I would say that if you gave it its whole lifetime, you got a high probability. But if you go back to what my answer is, do you want a master hunter to take 5 years with your dog in training for 5 years, for at least 3/4 of the year for 5 years?
Yeah, the reason I was saying that though is because that's where I was saying is you can.
I'm going to come back to this yet because there's another thing.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to end on is, in general, I mean, what my brain wants to say right now is no. Because I would say that if it's taken 3-4 years to make a master hunter, or 5 years to make a master hunter, that by that time I'd be giving up. It'd be like, all right, it's over.
They're not getting
there's something that mentally they don't understand to be able to put this all together, And no, I did make a master hunter at 8 years old after having 4 passes at all the way up to 3 or 4. But she was so crazy in her mind, I could never settle down. And even the day she passed at 8 years old, I had 2 really good judges that allowed her to creep out in front of me like she was out there on a pony ride. Okay. And they were really cool to me. And we got the title and good time. She, rest her soul, she's passed away now. A dog named Lacey, one of the hardest dogs I ever handled my whole career. Okay. But God rest her soul. But, they pretty much gave me a pass because if they wanted, they could have threw her out because she had horrible alignment. It's horrible holding blind etiquette. That's what I was talking about. CBD. It's like, all right, give me some of that stuff and give me the strongest stuff you got for if I get a dog like that again. Okay. So
why'd your dog cross?
Yeah, pretty soon it's gonna be like Conor McGregor to UFC. You're gonna before you pull it with your trailer, they're gonna come in and have to test all your dogs for performance enhanced drugs. But instead of performance enhanced drugs, it's gonna be performance drugs. Be like, did you drug this dog so he could sit at the line better because you don't have an e-collar? We got to test this now. So we're gonna have USADA for the UFC. UFC is gonna be going to all our trainers' houses and stop and be like, every dog that's going this weekend must have a test from USADA on whether you knock this dog down with CBD or not.
That shit's not allowed.
That's not allowed to use CBD.
Nope.
So that's what's gonna happen here in the future. If you want to go on the future hunt test and you learned it right now, pretty soon USADA is gonna be here testing our dogs before we can go to a hunt test to make sure that we're not bringing them down to a level where they're like, what's up, man? I can get these birds for you. In comparison to being like, oh my God, I can't. And then they're barking at the line, and then they're creeping, and they're going like that. It's like, all right, well, give me some of that CBD and just see if we can get them to sit here.
Yeah, you sitting at the line. I can smell that beef jerky in your pocket.
Yeah.
I know Paul made that. I can smell it.
I know Paul made that. Smells like goose. It's great tasty.
Give me a little bite.
Give me a little bite of that so I can calm down. Right when we're in the holding blind. Hey, you need some more jerky? You look a little hungry there.
I chinked out. Oh, man. We still haven't tested it out, though. We need to test it out.
But to be honest with you, an honest factor, all right, and I know they do this in horses. I mean, they drag horses up like crazy.
Yeah.
So, and everybody knows that, so I'm not like pulling out something here or saying something out of context. If they need something to make that horse perform better or feel better or whatever, they do it. And then there's certain restrictions on that too. In the dog world, it just hasn't been as feasible. But the problem with that is if you I've been watching a dog right now. Again, I won't mention the trainer or the dog's name or anything like that. Going to these tests that is so wound tight, almost like that Lacey dog I had. And the guy is working, but knowing probably what's going on behind the scenes, just get that dog to sit just a little bit better is almost like worse. It's like, why not just give him some CBD? Because knowing that the brutality that's probably going behind the scenes to get that dog to calm down at a test would be just like, hey, try CBD so the dog would just naturally chill down and run. Because it's one hand feeds the other. If you want to see behind the scenes what's going on to probably get that dog to sit there, all right? And if you want to see, and if you're like, oh, no, you can't be drugging the dog to get down. Listen, here's the thing. There is great dogs, and here's where genetics comes in, and here comes some really good conversations, right? Okay, there is some really great dogs that get test anxiety, and they get to a test, they start losing their mind because they're so excited to be there, right? And a really good master hunter is damn near falling asleep in the holding blind, walks up to the line with you perfectly, and as soon as he gets to the line, and starts throwing and start calling the duck calls, then he stands, perks up his ears and says, all right, boss, give it to me, right? But there's some dogs that you're fighting them in holding blinds. People are holding them, and they can't even hold them down in holding blinds. They're looking under the holding blind, around the holding blind. They're jumping up. They're yanking them back down, right? Then they get in, they start whining. There's dogs that go into holding blinds and start barking, right? And they're trying to hold their mouths shut behind the curtain because you're behind the curtain, basically. The holding blind, trying to get them, trying to step on their toes, trying to freaking do whatever you got to do to freaking calm down. Try to snap the lead. Try to do whatever you can do back there, right? Because you don't want to get in trouble. No, and anybody there, but you don't want to be the guy embarrassed that your dog's behind the holding blind. You bring them out of the holding blind. By the time you sat in 3 holding blinds to get them to the line, they're so wound out of their eyes, their eyeballs are crying. All the gunshots they're hearing going up there, all the duck calls. They're hearing 3 dogs run before them, and by the time they get to the line, they're so wound up that their obedience is way off on left field because they're not. The anxiety of the test is more important than you are. That's why in training, like that clip we just showed of Kiss, on my last Friday tidbit this last weekend about the baby steps of Master Hunter that we're going to talk about, that was just this last Friday, just a couple of days ago. Okay, of how important Kiss is looking at me and how important that on and off baby step game is at 4, 5, 6 months old for Kiss to learn, or any dog to learn in the Wingmasters program, that I'm more important than whatever you get. I'm more important than any bird ever, right? And you can train that already at 4 months old. So all my best master hunters, and like this year I got a freaking rocking team, but all the ones that were, so I would say a good master hunter under 2 is 6 for 10. It means he passed 60%. He was better than average in terms of pass ratio. 6 for 10. He probably broke one time. He probably ran one blind one time. There was probably one test that was just over his head. So right there, you're 6 for 9. Okay, not bad. Okay, one time he didn't understand it. One time he probably had a bad blind, and one time he might have just, his brain went out of higher and he broke on the honor and broke at the line. Okay, I'm pretty lucky because of the way our wingmasters study this process. I don't get many breaks, so I'm pretty lucky that way. Okay, but it happens, right? So a dog goes in, and that's 3 different problems to address. So you go to the next test and you go, okay, that sucker broke on me. I worked on his break this week. Let's go. Then all of a sudden he goes out on the last blind. It's like, I got you sitting perfectly, you son of a. And now you didn't run a good blind.
So then you go back and.
So now you go run a really good blind, and then the next test they put really tight marks, and then he doesn't remember where the marks are, and you're like, God dang it! Now I got to go back and work on tight, punching in tight areas, right? With better concepts. Now I got to go back and work on marking concepts. Work on marking concepts. Next time you go, he runs a bad blind. It's like. So to balance a dog that's you're running at a master title, there's a lot of baby step and a lot of pieces of the puzzle that need to be balanced. But when I was writing that and what we were talking about with this episode, and I wrote about in the tidbit of this being the baby steps of a master hunter, guess what? As soon as the problem arises, it goes back to one of the process of baby steps, right? So I'll give you a simple example. Over the weekend, this last weekend exposed a lot of things. Right? A lot of training things. And so I come up with the seniors, and they did this unique thing. They actually ran 2 water blinds because it was hot. They ran threw a little piece of water in a punch out, which they considered a land blind, even though I had water in it, which is weird, going through a channel. And then they ran a blind in the senior over a point about 95 yards with an angle entry in, angle to the other point, go over the point, angle entry across a far channel, and then exit out. Well, I'm going to tell you right now that some of the master dogs that were running my master flight would have had a hard time with this blind. Even my master dogs would have had to it would have been challenging on this blind. But I'll give you an example I said when I walked up there, I was with Shawnee, and I said, whew, good thing I did those 3 tune-up blinds on my back pond. The only problem is I haven't done them tune-up blinds in 2 weeks. So they haven't seen an over-the-point blind, an over-the-point tune-up in 2 weeks. So I hope what I did 2 weeks ago is still with them because they're about to see it today, and I haven't refreshed it in their brain for 2 weeks. So I dropped the ball on a senior thinking if I go to a senior, I'm not going to go over the point because they rarely do re-entry blinds. Here I am. Okay, here I am. It's faced with it right now, right? And every one of my dogs did it. So what I'm saying is the reason why I was bringing that point of the thing up was if you just leave one stone unturned that you need in the piece of the puzzle, that's the piece of the puzzle that'll get you. So to balance over the point blinds, down the shore blinds, triple marks, tight marks, cheaty marks, okay, over-unders, all right, walk-ups, honors, staying steady, mental control at the line, honoring another dog, okay, running a blind past the old fall, running a blind underneath an old fall of the flyer station, okay, running 2 blinds in one series adjacent to the other, run the land blind next to the water first, now run the water blind. Now why would they do that? It's because they want you to go run blind and turn the dog dry-minded and then see if you can get them to do perfectly in the water after you just told them to go on land first, right next to the water, okay. This is all mental games they play with you. And you have to mentally balance that. And then you got a dog with no e-collar, and he has to stay with you in the concepts and do all this training in the moment of time. And then you have to be composed as a handler when things are edgy and stuff. Okay, what type of cast? When should I blow the whistle now? Should I wait a little bit now? Shoot, I should have blew it a little earlier. Ooh, okay, there, I blew it perfect. Oh, shoot, I blew it a little early. Now he's offline further than what I thought. Okay, this is awesome. Okay, now they go and they miss a mark. They're hunting. You let him hunting, all of a sudden he starts going back to the old fall, and he gets almost there, and you go, tweet, but he still goes to the old fall. God dang it, I should have blew the whistle earlier, now I'm out. Okay?
Wait, I got to get my notepad.
Yeah.
Is that why all the dogs, you never have a fail?
That.
And I think that's everything you just said. If you have, whether Mike is training your dog for a title or somebody else is training your dog for a title, I think that you pretty much just summed up everything.
Right.
Literally. There's so many things that you train for. Just because you might have a dog that fails once, twice, however many times, whatever, you're struggling, it's not, in your case at least, it's not because you're not training them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just those little, like, I mean, you never know what other trainers are doing, but I know what you're doing.
Right.
And, like, the people that would be like, they feel like it's your fault. It's not your fault.
No, and
you're trying your best of, like, what you're having, but you can only teach so much. I can't go train one dog for an hour.
Right.
It's not good. There's no point. It's not good for them.
Right.
You're just going to keep blowing their mind. You can only do so much each day.
Everybody who's a respectable trainer understands exactly what I'm saying right now, because every single person's been through it. And we have, if you go around the country, I could name off some of the best master hunter trainers in the country right now that go to the Master National and take 20 dogs to it and pass 19 out of 20 at the Master National at the highest standard. All right. Look at the average age of those dogs: 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. All right. They're not running what I'm running, a 2-year-old who just came off a pheasant season or off a hunting season.
or
okay.
Tournament season.
Yeah, or a tournament season, where you're really getting wild and crazy. Okay, they didn't just come off a rodeo circuit, all right, and try to go into a marching band here. All right, so I respect them, but every single one of them has been there. Like something that's popped in my head right now that I got to say is this. It's like, my dog's never broke in the comment is, what's the comment I'm looking for? It's like, he's never broke yet. And basically the person will wish it on you, basically saying like, oh, he hasn't become a dog yet. Okay, and it'll be like, well, no, I've had like, actually, if you looked at my averages of what I was thinking about the other day, what I wrote in my tidbit, I think I'm close to 50 master hunters. I got a lot of them listed on my phone, and some of them I'm missing, and then probably another 50 to 100 senior hunters, and probably, I probably titled 100 and some dogs between junior, senior, and master, with 50 of them probably being master hunters. If you were to actually look at my breaking averages, I probably have only had, like off the top of my head, out of 50, less than 10 have broke. So like I don't really have a breaking issue in my issue. I would say, if you were to say the weakest thing that's come up on me at times is blinds, because my dogs would turn hunty on blinds. Like if there's a bunch of ducks that, yeah, you turn hunty because they run a hunt season and they run a tournament season.
Like you see, a lot of trainers don't have that big of a problem with that. Like, because the people, you got so many people with their dogs into tournaments and stuff like that, and that kind of throws you in for a loop for running hunt tests.
Yeah, so I have to be like much more strict when I'm running blinds on dogs that are getting hunting seasons in comparison to a trainer where the dog has never known a hunting season. And kudos to them, because that's the venue that they want the dog in. There's a whole venue that I mentioned before that are hunt test dogs that the dog never sees a hunting season. There's people like I was at a hunt test, and they were talking to me about this podcast, actually, which is cool. Some people are coming up saying they're listening to our podcast, and some people had heard me on the Doghouse podcast, and they said, yeah, I kind of felt a little like, I got to tell Mike, like I felt a little, not like belittled, but a little like, what would you say? What was the type term they're looking for? A little ashamed of the fact that I've never been hunting. Like you were saying on there that you're a hunter and you're a trainer and you're a hunt tester, and they go, I've never hunted. My dogs have never seen a hunting season. I just enjoy the hunt test game. So their hobby is in the summer. They go, they do hunt tests, and they go to the Master National. It happens in the fall. In the wintertime and stuff, they're doing everything out with their family, or they're already, after the Master National, they're already heading south and starting their hunt test season all over again after the National. Because their National, for the Master National, will end at the latest in October. So a lot of people, when they get done with the Master National, they might take a 2-week break. They're right back heading south. If they're in the north, they're heading south. If they're in the south, they're already down there. they're right back heading back into the hunt test game, and they got to requalify for the year. So they're right back running tests right after the national for the next national already. So these dogs never even see a hunting season because you're not going to hunt them leading up to the national, and sometimes the national is in October. So since you're not going to do that, well, then by the time you get done the national and you get back home and you get back, the good season's pretty much over already. So then they never even hunt them. They wait a few weeks, they start training again. They're right back in a hunt test cycle, right? Okay, now that was a cycle that I was going in like 2013, 14 when I had Winnie and Sadie and Gypsy. I was like, at that time, I found the Master National so intriguing. I found the hunt test so intriguing. I was so into it that I was like, you know what? I'm going to become a Master National trainer, and eventually I want to be like a Lyle Steinman or a Ray Shanks or somewhere along those guys' lines, or Chris Aiken. And all I want to do is have 25 dogs on my truck and all the same dogs, so I don't have to train no new dogs each year. So the dogs stay on my truck every year. I can just relax, train them, run them the test I need to run for these. They're qualified, keep them in training, and then run them to the national. I mean, which in essence, when you'd get to a dog that level, would be easier because they're already so good together. So all you're doing is pushing them beyond. Okay, that was kind of a goal of mine, but that meant no more tournament hunting. And if you listen to this podcast before, I'm kind of like tournament hunting, and that meant no tournament hunting. That meant no hunting. If you listen to this podcast before, I kind of like to go hunting.
I'd say,
I'm giving an inside view of it. So I think don't be ashamed if you want your hunt test dog to go hunting. Is kind of the moral of this story. We're dancing around the subject here. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be ashamed of that, right? And if you got a goal in mind, and even if your dog's not being trained by me, and you got a goal in mind, you're listening to this podcast, and you got your dog in there, a trainer, and the trainer says, "Hey, if you want this to be done the best time possible, and you want the most success, this dog should not hunt." Okay, there's probably a reason for that. He sees something. Your trainer sees something in that dog that it's not a good idea to send that dog on a hunting trip, right? For me, I just ride the freaking fine line. All right, well, I mean, as long as we're on this subject, I may as well just jump over to this right now and slide right over as long as we're on this, is that I'm in Horicon Hunt Test 3-4 weeks ago. All right, and Justin and Randy Hoffman own a dog that inspired you to get dogs. You watched me training Trixie at a year old. When you were throwing birds and coming hanging out with me and starting to do the field work, when you started saying, "Hey, Mike, I want to start becoming a trainer more and I want to train my own dog," then I said, "Okay, get the kennel chores done and you're going to start going to the field with me then." All right? And
did I get to just stand at the line?
Yeah.
I just want to stand at the line.
Yeah, to throw birds, yeah.
Stand at the line.
I know. It is, right now, it's funny as heck. This is an inside running joke because some guy got online and said he wants to just learn how to be a retriever trainer and work for somebody, but he doesn't want to have to throw birds. And oh my God, is he getting chastised online right now? But I got the point of what he was saying. He wanted to learn the fundamentals at the line. He didn't want to get stuck out throwing a bird all the time.
Because like you said,
you're not going to learn. So yes, I mean, what that guy needs to do is like I did with you. Hey, listen, you're going to come in the morning and do kennel chores. You're going to get things done. I'm going to be doing drill work. Okay, when it's time to do drill work for this specific area, for that process that you need to understand, you'll come and do the drill work with me, go back and do some chores, and then we go to the field and start running marks. Okay, you're going to throw a bird, but then when we get to this level of dogs, you're going to come and sit with me and we'll put a winger out there for you so you can start learning. And that's how I mentor people. I don't just stick somebody throwing birds, because you actually don't learn from throwing a bird out there what I'm seeing at the line. And there's so many reads at the line that we can write a book about it.
Yeah.
Right? All of us top end trainers are seeing something at the line. And the funny part about it is you can put 5 or 6 of us together looking at something and we'll all say something different. Yeah. Well, we'll all see the same thing, and then we'll also see something else, and we'll all go, "Ooh, I didn't even look at it like that." Right? But anyway, Trixie, when she was 5 months old and I was starting to force fetch her, I told Justin and Randy Hoffman, they're good friends of mine, they're good BDC friends, they run BDC. They're like, "We want to take this dog to a master hunter. She's a fox red, a cowboy, and a journey female, and we want to do the whole thing with her," they said. I said, "Okay." And I'm force fetching her, and I'm like, this dog was done in 3 weeks. I'm like, I said, "You got a dog here." I said, genetically beautiful, genetically perfect gait, genetically gifted, smart, focused. Everything I teach her, she gets it within a few times. And that was the time that you were starting to train with me and you said, I want myself a Trixie, which Chaos came out of the same breeding as Trixie. And now your Karma came out of the same breeding as Trixie because Trixie inspired you to want a dog because she was the hottest young dog I had training at the time, right? So she was your inspiration, Trixie, was why you got the 2 breedings you were. All right, so now you fast forward, Trixie actually wins the doubles national champion at this weekend. She actually won a puppy national championship, so she's a 2-time national champion already. She's not even 3 yet. Okay, and I'm running her a test. And last summer, it would just be some quirk, like I'd blow the whistle too late because she's extremely fast, or she wouldn't remember a mark and I try to handle her. And we put like 2 or 3 master passes on her, and she quirked out. I take her to the first test down south. She quirked out, or they didn't bring her back to the third. I thought she should come back. They didn't bring her back to the third. I'm like, what in the hell? I even asked about them. They said, whatever, too many whistles on a blind or something, which is a ridiculous thing. But whatever, it don't matter. It just is what happened. And then I told Justin or Andy this year, I said, listen, this dog is running so good. Yeah, things have quirked out. But I'm going to tell you right now, this dog is running so good in training that when it clicks, it's over. Well, then it started going bam, 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 bam. Then there was no fails in sight. She goes there. But anyway, she earns her title. They're friends of mine. They're at the test with Sam in Horicon, Wisconsin. And they're like, all right, Mike, start these, because I had told them I wasn't going to go to the Master National. So they said, all right, Mike, start deciding what handler you want to go to the Master, what handler you want Trixie to be with to go to Master National that you trust, that we can put our trust in because we trust you. And then I just smiled at him and said, nobody deserves to stand next to Trixie more than me, because I've been standing next to her since she's been 5 months old. That's also the other piece of a little bit of a table that I want to put a little feather in my hat. And I know some people are going to take it like I'm bragging all the time, but I'm actually just, truth be told, behind the scenes of not bragging. Every master hunter that, if I got about 50 master hunters or close to it right now, probably 90% of them or 95% of them I trained from the time they were 5 or 6 months old. Okay, you want to get a truck full of master hunters, and you want to get on a master hunter trail and master national trail. You get rich clients that buy already trained master hunters for big dollars, throw them on your truck, and you're already doing somebody else's work on your truck. Every dog that's on my truck is my work, my system. I built that dog. I figured out the quirks. I went and figured out the problems. I solved the problems and got their title. Okay? I didn't have somebody else didn't train him, and I got to stand by him and the dog made me and somebody else's training look good. No, every dog that's stand next to me has been my work of art from the time they've been 5 months old, right? And I'll take my hits on it too. If all of a sudden dog hurts, I got to call an owner and be like, all right, she's doing this because of this and because of that, so I got to fix this and I'm going to be working this, so therefore I don't want her to run tests. Okay, I'll take accountability on that because I ain't no wuss trainer. It's like, all right, we got 3 fails in a row. Yeah, I can understand your concerns. Trust me, I got to do this, this, and this, and then we got to put her back on. Yeah, those ain't fun, sleepless nights for me, right? But I ain't taking somebody else's work, standing next to it, and calling it my own, comping out that way. That's what a lot of people do. Friggin', there's a whole nother conversation, but. So anywho, back to Trixie.
Oh, it's the dog's fault though.
Right. So anyway, back to Trixie. I said, all right. After they said that to me, because Trixie's talent, her breeding out of Tim Samelstead's Avery, which was his breed of journey, which his breed had a master or senior title and a master pass. So I trained a breed. Rest her soul, she just passed away. She was a 2-time national BDC champion. So my condolences to Tim Samelstead and Manny Samelstead and their family, because I just got the call like a week ago that old girl brewed, and she was the same as Winnie. I ran her the same time as Winnie because she was a year younger than Winnie. Bree got her senior title 5 for 5, ran 1 for 1 in master. And Timmy says, I don't give a crap about that. I just want to tournament hunt. So quit that master shit. So she never got it. And then the next year I said, hey, am I going to get her back this summer to do the match? No, I don't care about that. She's winning tournaments too much. I don't care about that. He's like, no. So then he breeds her to Journey and he gets Avery. And I said, so what are you going to do with Avery? You want to put senior? No, I'm not even going to mess with that. Just build me the best tournament dog you can. Well, then I built Avery, and Avery's a 2-time national champion. All right. And then he's like, all right, time to breed Avery. she's a Journey daughter. Who are we breeding her to? I'm so, well, Cowboy's rocking it now. And it was right the right time frame, which is the reason why I got Cowboy, which we explained in another podcast. And we breed, and it ends up being, like we talked about in whatever podcast it was, a nick, right? And a nick, for if you didn't listen to our podcast, means a pairing that every time you make it, phenomenal dogs come out of it. That's what's called a nick in the breeding world, in the dog breeding world. Every time you breed those two dogs together, phenomenal dogs come out of it. Well, we bred it the first time. You saw Trixie. There's a story. Well, now it's Chaos. Now it's Karma. Now it's Peaches. Now it's Lady. Now it's there. I mean, every litter that comes out, there's just a dang good one out of it, right? Now it's Rip that we got here right now. That's Timmy's own that he's doing for tournament hunt. Excuse me. So it's made something perfect. Everything good at time. So I watched Timmy buy Bree. I watched Timmy and I shoot the first birds Bee. I was Timmy's doubles partner for every run pretty much Bree pretty much had in her life. He bred Avery. I trained Avery National. I've been pretty much those two double national champions that Avery has. I was the doubles partner, so that's my national championship too. Okay, he breeds the Cowboy. Justin, our good friends Justin and Randy Hoffman by Trixie. Okay, I said so. I have stood next to Tim's genetics, for a decade as well. And it was Tim's decisions to make those breedings, even though we're best friends and good friends. But he could have Tim could have went and bred to some other sires and said, "Hey, Mike, I want to do my own thing." And I would never have been mad because he could have had his own breeding stuff, but he believed in what we did. And now I'm standing next to the third generation of Tim's genetics, which are half mine too, because Journey's in there and Cowboy's in there.
It's literally split 50-50.
Yeah, it's literally split 50-50 down the middle. So I'm also standing next to a different line between Journey and Cowboy now. So that's a genetic prideful thing for me. So, and then I trained her since the time she was 5 months old and told Justin and Randy, I said, I don't know where this pup's come from, or I know where this pup's come from because I know the genetics, but you got something uber special here. And Trixie has been special from the time it started, and it's just been unbelievable. So when they said, hey, Mike, choose who's going to stand next to her besides you, I'm like, probably a wrong answer. Probably should be me.
Say wrong answer.
So it's time. Wrong answer. Probably time for me. So I guess Mike Vaughn's heading to the Master National 10 years later. So, and that's her. And the thing of it is all the baby steps and all the quirks along the way that we went through, and every dog has a story of what she's went through and everything's in the background, So, like, for example, right now, Cowboy, for example, was 6 for 7 in master test and 7 for 8 in finish test in 13 weeks in one hunt test season. Like, I ran him in a test in one season. Now, if you want to talk about a master hunter, okay, and he did it before he was 23 months old. So, from 1 May to the middle of August, Cowboy had run 15 tests. He passed 13 out of 15 of them, and he wasn't even 2 years old yet and had earned both his titles.
And then he went after, 2 weeks
2 weeks later, he went and ran a tournament and won the doubles super major championships. Okay. All right. Now, that's a different level of master hunter of you're talking about intelligence when we're talking about what we're doing. And then, 1 month after that, picked up about, I don't know, 100 birds in 2 weeks, whatever we're doing, and, wild bird hunt in terms of, Cowboy's one of my favorite dogs to take on a wild, if we're going to go goose hunting or duck hunting or whatever, because I don't have a thing to worry about him, and so is Journey. So the conversations we're having right now is about the baby steps and about a master dog and what their level is. So one thing I want to say about it is their maturity level from senior to master. So if you listen to the last podcast, you're like, hey, Mike, well, what's that much difference between a senior and a master? The way they see it and the way their smoothness is for it is light ahead of senior. So my easiest way for it to explain to this would be in blind running, or Mark's the same way, is as a dog's learning, okay, they're going to give you a mistake or two each time in training, or you might have 3 bad days in training and then 1 good one. Okay, when you start getting to a master level and you keep pushing these dogs, okay, you don't have many bad days. They're mature. And then when you step them up to the test and they pass the test and they smoke it, okay, they're really showing the maturity of the material they're being taught to the maturity of going right into the test and doing the exact same thing in training with no e-collar on. You know? Now, if you're wanting to talk about the hunt, that's a whole nother thing yet. You know, as you're going on there. So, and genetics plays a big part in that.
Well, I got an important question for you now.
Yeah.
So say somebody is, like what I'm doing under you is you're teaching me what I need to do for training, and then I'm working junior, senior, master test. So you've talked about in this podcast and previous podcasts about a dog becoming test-wise. So one of the worst types of dogs is a dog that's super high-strung, very uber smart, very talented, but is too smart for their own good usually, because when they go to a test, they can't hold it together for some reason. Mm-hmm. So say, like how I always wanted to do it was like with chaos, I always wanted to do junior, senior, and the master. Like, so each summer for me, that was just always my dream once I learned about it. I always thought it would be so cool. Well, you told me during my first last summer of running juniors, like you probably picked the perfect dog to do this with. Because normally you wouldn't want to do this. If you know you want to create a master hunter, you go straight to master. Or run one senior to see where they're at and then go to master. So, like, why do you think that's important for people to know? Like, if they're doing it for their own dog, they want to run their own dog. What is that? I think that's really important information for somebody to know.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Okay. Test-wise is a real thing. And so what a dog can learn, and this is a whole nother even podcast subject, actually, is test-wise could also be paired with collar-wise.
They know when the collar's
They know when the collar's on and they know when the collar's off. So it's important at times to train with the collar off. Now, right off the bat, I'd go into a controversial issue with that, because a trainer would say, don't ever take the collar off, just only take the collar off before you go to the test and see what happens, right? There is times where, like a Friday before the test, I'll run all the dogs to all the collar except for blinds. Now they'll say the next thing they'd say to me, if they wanted to, be a critic of me, is be like, oh, that's the dumbest thing you could just do. You just ran them with marks and you put the collar on them to tell them to run the blind, because now you just taught them when the collar's on and when the collar's off, right? Okay. Well, that tactic has worked for me well, because I want you mentally focused without a collar on marks a day or two before a test, and run through the test with no collar on to see if when that collar comes off, you're gonna give me something at the test that's unexpected, right? What I don't want is you to go so haywire on a blind a day before or 2 days before that I got to go out there and get you and put the collar on anyways. So if that's the case, then I just throw the collar on after I've done it. But line manners wise, see, line manners is what your dog does at the line with no collar on, right? And that's another thing. So test wise, so we got a perfect example of this right now. So Finn, who's out of Chopper and Millie, and Sean has stayed with me since January, and it was his dream to have a master hunter, and he's just so fortunate that he has an understanding wife, and he's retired, and he could actually come and work off his pay and live with me to be able to do this. I don't do this very often, but it just happened to work out that I need some projects done around here, and it actually worked out. Okay. Finn, about the fourth test in now, when the problem with Finn, and the reason why Sean and I met, is because when he was with his earlier training group and started from there, and he started running juniors, Finn was uncontrollable in the holding blinds. So as soon as you would get in the holding blinds, he would ramp up in the holding blinds leading up to the test. He'd ramp up. All right. And so the first thing when he came to one of my seminars when he was a year old, because it was only 1 year ago, I'm like, okay, we're going to correct this in front of everybody right now and teach other people why you don't want this to occur, why you need holding blind etiquette, just like we did at my last seminar, a few weeks ago. Okay. Well, Finn's going on, and what he would do is the first holding blind. So this is giving you behind the scenes so you can understand this right now. And this goes to our test-wise, collar-wise thing, right? So the first holding blind I would put him in. So let's say I got to go 1, 2, 3. Let's say there's 3, and I gotta go through all 3 to get there. And when it comes to the Master National, there's like 8. So you got to have a dog that if he keeps ramping up per holding blind, by the time you get to 8, it's over, right? So you got, right now, I'm just dealing with 3 to get him through. So now, I get in the first holding blind, he'd sit there pretty good. By the second holding blind, he'd start smelling the ground and start whining. All right? He knew from the guns out in front of him and the smell of other dogs in the holding blind that don't smell like my kennel, that he's no longer training. So, which, hold me on this so I don't leave this, right? I'm just going to give a little side tangent here. The reason that I believe, because you can do 4-wheelers, gunshots while they're sitting in a holding blind, don't put the collar on them on a holding blind, simulate everything you want to test. And everybody's always like, I just don't know how these dogs know that. I can train with other people. I just don't know how these dogs know that these dogs are at a test, and I can't understand it. The main thing that I feel that they know is when they smell multiple dogs from different kennels. That's how they know, in my mind. And the reason why I feel like they know that is because when they go in the holding blind, almost every dog I put in the holding blind will immediately put their nose to the ground. All right? And the reason why I also know that and want to say that is because if they smelt you and you and you and you and me, and they smelt everybody at the hunt test, they wouldn't care. But if they smelt their owner, boom, they're going to be looking around and their eyes are going to light up if they smelt their owner. So like when an owner comes, I have to make sure they're downwind and don't even be anywhere near this dog, because if they smell you, their brain's going to go crazy. So some dogs are smelling different odors of different dogs. So they say, well, I just trained with the group last week and he was fine. Yeah, because it was their smell, your smell. Their smell, your smell. They just got used to that. They're that smart. Okay, now when they go in and there's 10, 20 different handlers, that's all different smells. Every one of us has a different odor, right? If you want to go search for somebody that's missing in your backyard or that's missing in town and they want to track somebody down that's a criminal, they put the dog, they give him a whiff of his odor. He goes through the footsteps. He goes through the parks, through the buildings, and ends up finding the guy in a corner of a closet hiding from a criminal.
Everybody's going to relate to this. You go to your mom's house, you go to your grandma's house, you go to your aunt's house, you go to your uncle's house. They all have a smell of their laundry.
Exactly.
You put 4 different shirts here from 4 different. Your house has this. Your laundry has a specific smell. If I do my wash here,
that's perfect.
You put 4 different spots, and I will tell you that all 4 of these are not from the same wash, or maybe they are. You can literally tell.
Yeah.
There's always one place that you love the most.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably not your own. No, just kidding. So yeah, that's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. So they know. And then there's no collar on, right? So if I go train with somebody, I actually would prefer to go train with somebody. If I'm going to go train with somebody, I prefer a new collar on. I know it's only 2 different scents. My scent, their scent, my scent, their scent. But at least it gives me a little more than just mine.
Yep.
Okay, and the reason why I'm moving on this is because I'm behind the scenes with this dog named Finn, right? So I moved to the next holding blind. And he's getting amped up and he's whining. All right? And I'm jerking on the lead a little bit because in the beginning stages of the puppy, you're pulling up on a lead, giving them little nicks with the lead because that's how you teach them with the lead first, not with the e-collar, right? So you're giving them little nicks. Okay, so then I get him in and now he's whining. I'm jerking on the lead the best I can. Like that's the only tactic I have at a hunt test to do behind the curtain. I can't spin them. I can't grab them. I can't get forceful with them. And besides that, all they're going to learn is if I get forceful with them is, well, go ahead and get forceful with me because I still get to do what I want in a minute anyway. So it doesn't really work out. So what I did is that I'm like, I'm going to have to do some reverse psychology. So all I did is just pet him nonstop. I never stopped petting him. Every time he tried to smile, I just start petting and rubbing his ears. And then I go to the next one, I just rub his ears. And he tried to put his head down, I pick his head up and just rub him. And just pat him. I kept getting his mind off of the scents and off of the stuff to focus on me by petting him. And I just kept petting him and over petting him. Like if you were to see me at a seminar, I'd be like, don't pet your dang dog that much. I would just petting him the most I've ever petted in my whole life. Any dog I've ever pet in my whole life.
Fuck, I wish I would have been there to do that.
Yeah, I would have been there.
What's Mike doing petting the dog?
Why is he petting the dog? So he must really love Finn.
Yeah, he must really love Finn.
He must really love Finn. So, and I just messed with his psychology the best I could, right? Okay, in this time, fourth or fifth pass, he starts creeping, which is probably one of the hardest things to fix is creeping, because creeping is not breaking, but essentially they're breaking. But you'd almost rather have them break, because at least if you break, I can tell you no, and then I can solve the problem of you leaving. Okay, now the dog knows in creeping, I know I'm not supposed to leave, but I'm just going to walk out there and get out there in front of you and keep going.
Because they never say anything.
Because nothing goes wrong. So I'm not going to get in trouble out here. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to walk out there because I know I'm going to get in trouble and you're still going to send me for a bird. That's creeping. That's a mental game that the dog's going to play with you. Okay, now he's getting test-wise. Finn's getting test-wise. And he's getting it. And I told Shawnee, I said, this dog can mark and run blinds. Because, I mean, Finn got his title at like one day over his second birthday. All right. 6 for 6 in a row. All right. And I'm like, we're losing him. He's getting test-wise. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run him through my anti-creeping process. And when I run him through the anti-creeping, he's not going to get many marks and he's not going to get many blinds. He'll get more blinds because that's still me being in control. And he's not going to get many marks because I have to reverse psychological him that when marks go off where he thinks about going forward, every time a mark goes off, I have to get him to think about going backwards. And that's how you solve creeping. All right. And I'll give you that tidbit right now. I'm not going to give you the exact process. In the future, I'll have my creeping methods online, right? Okay. And I developed this whole process that usually takes me 2 weeks to cure creeping. Okay. This is going into the last pass now. He's crept past 4, past 5. He crept one where he crept pretty good. Series 2, he stayed next to me pretty good. Series 3, he crept out pretty good again. All right. It's like, all right. Okay. We're going into our 6th pass. I got to cure you from creeping. Did a creeping process. Said, watch. I said, he'll sit next to me. That dog healed me perfectly. Sat next to me perfectly. Series number 2, he crept out like 1 foot in front of me. Like just moved out just a little bit. Okay. Which is better than 6 to 10 feet, which is what we had in the past. Right. But still not good. All right. I did some obedience with him the next morning. I said, all right, this is the obedience standard of what you're going to be. Got in a holding blind, petted him, got in a holding blind, did some of the obedience I worked with him before. And he sat perfectly in the 3rd and just pounded it. And Finn ran a phenomenal, and Sean was ecstatic and running around like he had Tourette's. Wingmasters! Wingmasters!
I was going to say that.
Yeah. Sean, where was your dog trained by Wingmasters?
And then that night I was finally able to bring Mike to my favorite karaoke bar.
Mm-hmm. We had to celebrate Finn's title and Sean's because he's been long living dream. Go sing a little karaoke on a Sunday night. What the hell? Because remember, we're the karaoke connoisseurs. It's like you said in the last one. So, but that's a behind the scene. Now, Finn went 6 for 6 to get his title. All right. But behind the scenes of that, he broke on one honor with Sean when Sean tried to run on himself. And he didn't make it to the 3rd with one of me when I deserved he needed to be there. So he went for 6 for 7 with me. All right. So 2 fails to start off this dream of Sean's, then 6 passes in a row. And that's the truth be told, because I could hide them 2 fails. But it'd be on the record if you looked it up anyway. But I could not mention that, but I'm mentioning you that. So like if you are a hunt tester and you're going hunt testing and you're failing or you're intermittent, you're passing and you're like, man, the dog really showed up today and really did what I asked today. And then another day, all of a sudden you're like, who is this dog? Like Jekyll and Hyde stuff. Like, who is this dog? I don't even know. He just blew everything off so crazily. I don't even know what to say. Like for me, I call the owner up and say, like, I really don't even know what to say, but he just had a bad day and there's nothing to talk about because everything went wrong. Right? Those days I really hate. I'd rather have one thing. But the day where everything goes wrong is like, all right, the day that I'm walking out to go catch the dog, okay?
God, it's so hard. Like, ever since I started working for you, ever since I started cleaning counts for you that first year, taking care of dogs, my outlook of dogs, training, the whole shebang is like completely changed. If I would have never been here, my dog doesn't go in a crate. My dog rides it right in my front seat. My dog will never be in a crate. My dog cannot be in a kennel. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like, you have to, it's so weird, like, and then knowing that if I never was working with you or anything like that, and then I sent my dog with you on a truck and like he kept failing or something, I'm like, God dang it, what the heck's going on? It's like not like mad at you, but it's frustrating. It's like because you don't know, like you haven't been there, so like it's so crazy to think about how an outlook could change just from being here, like just truly understanding it, because like people would just send you their dog to get trained in hunt tests. Well, they've never been to a hunt test, maybe. They don't even go and watch it because there's like, just put a master on them. I want to go hunting and I want a master title dog.
Right. And for them, we just train.
Yeah.
You show up, you get your pass, you get it done. Yeah.
Like, it's so...
They don't see the baby steps that I was talking about in the thing of the baby steps they're going to do, or the baby psychologies, or the hunt test wise. I mean, this whole conversation talked about hunt test wise, you're saying, which I'll get back to right now. If you have a high strung, like for example, eider that I train.
I was just going to say eider.
Yeah, okay.
You would not want to start...
You would never want to start that dog. You would never want to run. So here's my analogy for this. For you guys that have this real high octane view. Make sure you USADA don't get your CBD check. Make sure, yeah.
Pretty soon at the start of this podcast, I'm going to have a little commercial that has my own CBD brand.
Yeah, that's what we got to do. We got a CBD sponsor.
The Blast CBD.
Yeah, so let's go find a CBD sponsor. No, I'm just... No, if you got a high-end dog, you need to look at it like this. The more tests you run, the smarter he gets to do what he wants. So if you run 5 senior tests and at the end of the senior test he's creeping way out and he's blowing you off cast on the blinds and he's honoring and he's barking on honor or something like that, okay, and he's wired and you're barely holding him there, all right, if you had a senior title, you got 5 more to do.
This is literally a direct correlation with what you said about the dog that it took you 4 handles. Well, you just used up 4 of your handles at a minute amount that you maybe had.
Correct.
So now you just used up 5 tests where you only probably had 7 tests to go.
Yeah.
So now you only got 2 more good tests than the next 3 or 4, whatever you did. It would be 4.
Man, you're not just a hat rack over there.
I'm not just a hat rack.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. No. It's perfect.
So
actually,
you get your senior test.
No, it's awesome. I'm glad that you picked up on that because you made an epiphany for other people. That's 100% it. So a high-end dog, you should not be running in junior, not be running in senior. Part of Lacey's issue, I tell you, is the most wildest animal I ever did. And Megan Matthews and I, we talk about a lot. Now her daughter was a national champion with you this last year at the BDC, and then Liv became a master hunter, which Liv got a little creepy. Got a little crazy on line manners. Now we got Lyric here, which is 3rd generation. I believe we've bred the craziness out at the line manners now because Lyric is real kind of conscious of everything, which comes from Cowboy a little bit more. Okay. When we did it, Megan was running her in junior. When I first met Megan, she was asking for help from people, and people were giving her right help, and we became friends because we were around the same age. And, at the hunt test, it's not like there's a lot of younger people. So we were on the same age and we met. Okay. And she's like, I don't know what to do with this dog. And I was beginning my pro career, and I'm like, well, I can help you with some of that right there. Then she's like, well, I'll just let you have the dog. Okay, by that time already, when I was running Lacey as junior, I couldn't hold her in the holding blind at junior. But Megan wanted her to be a junior. She's like, well, can you finish these 2 junior passes? So I get her through 2 junior passes of the most obnoxious holding blind stuff you can ever do. Okay, well, now let's just run her senior because the mentality is next year's senior. She's training with you. She's ready to go to senior. Okay, I had more obnoxiousness in the holding blind and more obnoxiousness at the line and blowing me off on blinds. The weird part about Lacey is I was pretty damn harder on the blind world, and she actually ran blinds better than everything else she did. She actually was a phenomenal blind runner, which you'd think for her being crazy, she'd blow me off on blind. She never blew me off on a blind. I never failed the blind with her.
So you took her from junior to senior to master?
Yeah.
So, you look back and probably like, that was the worst possible
thing. Oh, that was the worst thing ever.
I didn't know that you did junior to
master. Oh, man. I mean, you're just lighting a firecracker. I mean, you're talking about the 4th of July every time you pull in. And this dog was so smart. This is no joke. These are fun behind-the-scenes stories. This dog was so smart. I used to try to trick her, but it didn't work that good. That when we got over 20 miles from my house, she knew she was going to a test. So if I drove anywhere within 15 miles of the house, she never barked in the trailer. Soon as I got over 15 miles, because everywhere I train's 15 miles, right, of the house. And as soon as, and not everywhere, but I mean, maybe every other week I went somewhere for an hour, right, to go train in somebody's grounds like Field of Dreams or something, right, or Sandy Dollars or something like that. All right, as soon as I went over 20 miles, you could roll the window down. She's in there barking. She knows already that I'm going to a test because we're over 20 miles. That's how smart she was.
Or right? when you go past 35 miles per hour.
Yeah. But at least Winnie would stop barking. Like Lacey literally would sit in the truck and never stop barking. Winnie would at least stop when he slowed the truck below 35 miles an hour, and then she'd shut up when it was stopped. Lacey literally would not stop. You know what I mean? So like That's how smart. Had we known now, like I told Megan, so then you got to imagine, all I need is 5. I go 3 passes in a row. I go 3 fails in a row for mainly breaking. Breaking on the marks. One of them I can see in my mind, her breaking on the honor. She did everything perfect. All she's got to do is honor a double, and she broke on the honor. And I think that one would have been either the 4th or the title, one of the 2. I can't remember because it went 3 passes, a few fails, 4th pass, and then fail. We just couldn't get it. We just couldn't get her to hold it together. There was no longer holding it together. And she taught Megan and I stuff. And I did everything. We sent her to another trainer to try some of that psychological training on her. Only thing that back then is, why don't we have the blast CBD under the table? What CBD brand do you need? Okay. But no, that's seriously what that dog would need it. But and I don't even know if this works CBD on dogs. We're just joking around about this. But so I'd like to experiment with it though.
I'm gonna slip before Mike goes.
I don't even do it.
No, before Mike goes to run a dog, like the morning over at the hotel, I'm gonna give him some and see how it works on him first.
Well, the funny part now,
Mike is like eating his chips. Fuck, I'm really Alec, go run this master round. I gotcha.
The funny part now is everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, Mike's pro weed, he's pro THC on his podcast.
Well, we just want to figure out.
And the funny part about it is I haven't smoked a thing in my life. I hate cigarettes and I don't smoke. So I mean, I can remember my high school frickin' senior party. They were passing a bong around in the attic, and I took the bong and handed it to the next person. Seriously, like that's a true story. My one buddy still says, you were the only guy that passed the bong pass. Like I actually don't do it. I think sometimes it'd probably be good for my life to calm me down, but I actually don't enjoy smoking a thing, right? So here we are.
Mike's in the middle, running a blind, eating a Snicker bar.
Yeah,
Mike, what are you doing? You're not.
Now we're talking about
when you're hungry.
Now we're talking about CBD and THC for dogs, and I don't even advocate it myself. I don't care if you do it. I don't give a crap. It's your prerogative. It's your own thing. I like to have a little whiskey on the side. If you don't like whiskey and like weed, I don't give a crap what you do. But I'm just saying, So, I think
you're looking at it from a physiological standpoint, biological standpoint.
Right.
I truly believe CBD could potentially help some dogs.
Yes, and
the problem is, how is it going to interact with their ability to calculate marks and understand?
Well, that's what the testing. That's where the testing has to go. You have to see how much it would take for them to calm down enough and still keep their intelligence in the job at hand.
Because you've seen high people.
Yeah. So now, and then we go fail. 4 years, finally I said, Megan, that's enough. We sent her to another trainer. I said, Megan, there's one more guy that you could try to send her to. Megan's like, it's fine, Mike. We did it. I don't think this is going to get it. I mean, it was so extreme that the last one I took her to before the one I got it done, the last one I took it to, like when I was on the last holding blind, it was like a wild caged animal in a holding blind that people were looking at me from behind, and I could not get her head from going underneath or over. She jumped up one time on it and pulled the curtain down, pulled the thing down. I mean, it was just, and I'll tell you what happened. We get to the line. She's sitting perfect. They shoot the flyer. They miss it. It flies overhead, and it's a rooster. And she frickin' is gone. It's like, you frickin' sons of guns. Now the gunner's
missing. Did they
missing.
give you a rerun?
They gave me a rerun, but tried to hold her in holding blind again. Now the rooster flew overhead. This is the stuff I went through. You know what I mean? Like, we're having fun telling truth to the world, but these are true stories of you watching me, like, whatever, what is this, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, of watching me do it where people are just going, and I got in trouble with her because I'm trying to snap her down, trying to go, then they're like, oh, Mike, we're going to write you up at the AKC, this and that. So then for a while it's, oh yeah, Mike, you got to watch him. Around here, he'll try to get away with stuff. So I'm not trying to get away with nothing. I'm trying to hold the dog in a holding blind. You guys act like I'm freaking sitting here trying to do. I never did anything that was too much. It's just people talking to catty Cathy's in the background. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, but anyway, so we go 4 years later. She was not better. The difference was I held her like just this much better, like an inch better, and I had really good judges. That
you said she was like 30 feet in front of you.
Yeah, I think she was like 30 feet in front of me. I think she was halfway to the birds, and the judges were cool about it.
They're like,
no. I mean, she wasn't quite that far, but I mean, so I wrote a tidbit at the time saying never give up. Okay, well, behind the scenes of that pass was creepy ugliness, but I didn't give up, and we did it. And Megan finally got what she deserved. Lacey, because she was. I mean, here was the deal: angel with the collar on in training, angel with the collar off in training. Her test wiseness was off the charts.
Would you say that's a dog that it's like I get that she's test wise, but from a mind standpoint, it's not even that she's test wise. She knows she's at a test is what I mean for test wise, but she cannot hold it together. It's not because she knows that the e-collar is not there. It's not because of that. It's just that she cannot literally hold it together. Her
The anxiety holding together. 100%. That's another piece of the puzzle. It's not just a collar.
I know not to creep, but I'm going to do it because now it's because I literally cannot function right now because I'm at a test.
And that's true because I've had holding blind dogs that sit perfect in a holding blind and go up and break, or sit perfect in a holding blind and go up and creep still. Right?
Like, you don't.
But she
like,
was her.
There's some
testing,
dogs that intentionally blow you off. Do you think that was kind of with her, or do you think it was literally the I just can't hold it together?
No, I think what we'd come down to that it was literally the anxiety.
The test anxiety.
The test anxiety. That her brain was so excited to be at a test that she could not control her brain.
Because now we're talking about this. I think there's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there's actually a difference between test anxiety and test wise.
Correct. So
like Chopper's a test wise dog.
Yeah. Test wise, where a dog sticks to a bird or a dog creeps at the test only. You got to fix that. There's a test wise dog where they blow off your cast on a blind. You know, there's a test-wise dog, like a weak-minded dog that'll run in the holding blind and hide from you. So they throw the bird, they run out, they act like they can get the bird, and they run in a holding blind and sit behind the holding blind. And you know,
really?
Oh yeah, there's that crap too.
Oh man!
I told those one guys that were behind there one time, the gunners that knew me. I said, next time a dog does, I kick him in the ass right out of there. And they started laughing like, Vaughn, we don't want to do that. I said, I know. I said, hypothetically, I'd love to have you just boot him like a freaking football player right out of there. Because he's learning how to get test-wise
because they
giving up on the mark.
The problem is they get away with it.
Right. So you're talking about everything. Like I've had everything. Everything happen. Like I've had everything happen. And like I'm sitting on here talking about it in the open where most trainers would hide it and be like, oh, that's never happened to my dog. My percentages are 95%. Go look at retriever results online. Because if you go look at retriever results online, look at how good I'm. Me. So, no, I'm saying this to you because if you're a new person and wants to run your own dog on a hunt test, these are things that can happen, and it's every single thing's happened to me, right? I'm exposing myself for you to learn from, right? And I'm okay with that. It's the same thing as people saying I'm hard on dogs, right? Some guy comes up to a client of mine that goes back to a training group. I just got done training his dogs. Well, how's that dog? How's your dog when Mike's around? He goes, it's actually wilder than heck. He says every time Mike's around, he's jumping up and down. He can't wait to be around Mike. Because he learned the wingmaster way for everybody to go. But people just want to say that about me. You know, like I said, I'm exposing myself to help you, right? There was a time I was harder on dogs than I wanted to be. But I left those methods in the past now. And we're about to expose it even more because when I'm in front of a camera showing you the real deal, this is the real deal. Like right now we're doing that Dusty dog on the camera. And I told you the other day, I said, this is going to be hard for people to watch. It wasn't that I was doing anything harmful to Dusty. It was the fact that I was making him walk on a lead. Like, you're not going to sit down. You're not going to decide that you're going to do nothing.
Yep.
Right? And if you don't do that, then you just allowed that dog to go the other way. That every time you take him out training, he decides he gets to not train.
Exactly.
So you got a flip side of everything. Where if you want to go the flip side, so you got those dogs. And then the 100% flip side is every time the dog goes training, he does good. But when he goes to a test, he decides he's not going to listen to a thing you do at test, like we were talking about Lacey. So you got those two sides of the spectrum.
Or you got a dog that trains horrible, and then you go to a test, he smokes.
Correct. So I got dogs here. I got a million dogs here. Sometimes there's a saying, oh, that dog's training like crap all week. Yep, he'll be perfect this weekend.
That's just nuts.
There is actual stories of dogs after a while that get training sour.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm learning in horse world because my niece has got a horse and I'm so excited about.
Did she get the horse?
She got the horse.
Oh, that's the one that we were talking about?
Yeah, she got a little Willie, the new buckskin, the 16-year-old buckskin that's just a neat, and the bond they got already, it was meant to be. And I'm learning about being buddy sour. Okay. There's a dog, which means she's been with our horse because they're a herd animal. And when when you take them away from the other horse, they might get buddy sour and not want to do anything for you because they keep looking for their buddy. It's called buddy sour.
That's just like a dog, though, too.
You're right. So it's just like a bond. So there is a such thing as training sour. There is a dog that every day doesn't find you making him run a blind and finding a dead duck that enthusiastic anymore. right? And I can think of a couple off my head right now. I'm not going to mention, but and if the people that own them that I've trained to have listened to are like, oh yeah, Mike, we already know you're talking about them. But that literally it was. So there is actual stories that before the Master National, and I can mention this. I can think of the guy's name off the top. These are awesome, funny stories that. And before the Grand, where they trained the dog 1 day a week and they didn't even do a setup, they threw puppy marks for him in the front yard. And then they turned and ran a pattern blind. Because they said if you went and ran any marks that were him having to think and being out there, him looking at a dead duck and him being at the line, he was so bored he would just trot out there or he'd run out there and mess it up on purpose. So they said the only way to keep her attitude up was to throw him some fun puppy barks in the front yard where he didn't have to think and then turn around a pattern blind. And this dog, I know the dog. Like there's a good dog. You wouldn't want these genetics, hypothetically, if we were talking genetics. But I know the dog. This dog go to the Grand and go to the Master National and absolutely smoke it. He was just training sour because he had been on a trailer since the time he was 6 months old, and now he's 6 years old, and he's staying on a trailer 12 months a year, seeing dead ducks flying here every day, and every day making me not cheat water, and every day making me. He never got to be himself. So if we actually want to go back to the conversation we started this on,
it's actually good.
It's actually good for them dogs to go on a hunting season because you can get training sour and a dog to do it. Now you can get bird sour the other way. You can get a dog that gets too many live birds in hunting and comes back to training, which is also training sour. Gets so many hunting birds and gets so many flyers because everything's a flyer. A pheasant's a flyer. A duck hunting's a flyer. Okay, now you come back and he goes into a test, like starts training. He's like, this is so boring. Doesn't even want to come out of the trailer. It's so boring for him to not see flyers all day because that's what he did in hunting, right? So your good dogs, your good master hunters, they are the dogs that train and hunt. They train the best dogs, the best you can have is they train great each day. They give you 100% each day. And they go up 10 or 20% at the test and even perform better at the test than they do in training because they actually get performance anxiety the right way. When they go into performance, it's like today's a show, boss. And it'd be the same as you can have a football player or somebody shooting hoops or batting practice and the guy can't hit worth crap. But when the pressure's on and people are watching, he can hit a home run or he can throw a pass to a guy 60 yards with two defenders on him. You know? So that there is something to be said for rising up in the competition. And those dogs that rise up are true champion form. That's a true champion, right? They have a champion mentality in a dog. And I've seen it so much. So when you see these dogs with a bunch of titles, field champion titles or qualified all-age titles or master titles or master national titles, okay, was it just, back to your question starting this podcast, was it just a master hunter that barely got by on a C average and, went 6 for 12 and barely made it through? And the only reason he made it through is because every easy test is the only one he passed. Okay, well, that's a master hunter down here at the lowest level of the spectrum, right? Okay, then you see a master hunter that goes 6 for 6, requalifies each year 6, has 3 master national plates, past master, then decides, you know what, we're getting bored with master hunter. I'm going to go run a qual, and within 2 quals, he's qualified all age. Because he just took the concepts from Master Hunter, extended it out, and he wins against all the rest of them already. Okay? I mean, speaking of that, like a friend of ours that you've met on the circuit and is a friend of mine that I'm thinking about that started the business at the same time of mine as me is my friend Jessie Richards. Okay? She's in the hunt test game. She's doing hunt test dogs. She expands her game. She wants to go run more quals. That was goal. She got some good people around her in the field trial. Now Jessie's winning a lot of quals right now. And it'd be fun to get her on the podcast sometime to talk about what she did to get those dogs to that level. She could be another good guest on here. And I watched her career because we literally started training dogs together, started training together, and she's a good friend of mine. And I respect her for what she's done, and that dog went up. Well, them dogs step up. They just know when it's time. And then we talk about bird dog tournaments about Winnie. Winnie knew when everything was on the line. Journey knew when everything was on the line. Those are your good. Trixie knows when everything's on the line right now. Finn knows when everything's on the line. This dog Mila knows when everything's on the line for me right now. These dogs, this dog Moose, the cowboy, they know when things are on the line. And them dogs grow in the sport. So like if we're talking about sport gamesmanship, the dog becomes a gamesmanship. He gets in the game and gets better. And each test he does, or all the way up to the Master National or each field trial he does, he gets better because he starts to understand the game better at each one. And then like I told Sean when we were doing the fin run here, before he just got his title, I said, you're going to see his 5th and 6th test be way better than the first 4 because he's going to start getting it. And he did. He just pounded the crap out of him. You know.
Because it's all a game. Mm-hmm. Literally, it's all a game.
Yeah. So I think to kind of end this off, because we've been giving her a while here, is that if your goal is to have a master hunter and you want to be able to hunt it, then enjoy the ride. That's the best thing. And I know that this is such a cliche comment all the time. And the comment is always so cliche of enjoy the ride. It literally is. Because right now, if you get a master hunter at 2 or 3, the dog's going to live another 7 to 10 years. Or then what are you going to do with it? Well, I hope you're going to go hunting. Or if you're going to hunt this game, then you may as well stick with the Master National and keep repeating and going, because you're just going to say, well, I got a master title and now the dog's going to sit on the couch for the rest of his life because I achieved that. So there's either 2 or 3 ways to go about it. You go, I got the master title. I'm excited. I'm going to go run bird dog tournaments. This is what we do. So for me, I want a 2-year-old master hunter, and I probably don't care if he goes on a Master National. I probably don't care if he goes to field trials because I don't have the time for it. Okay. But I want him to go on and do something, which means hurry up and get that master title done so me and you can go play some bird dogging, right? Okay. If you're in the hunt test game, if like that's what your passion is being a hunt test game, okay, you either got to repeat the process and get the goal of going to the Master National, and that becomes your next goal, or you got to start running some quals, or you got to get the title in AKC and move over to UKC and get your HRCH title and run both organizations for another challenge, right? Which is going to be kind of the same thing, but a different title. And then if you're one there, then you go, all right, well, I've done that. I got both titles. The dog's doing really well. All right, well, now it's time to go to the Grand, which would be the UKC Grand, which would be equivalent to the National. Okay, and then you go, I got to do a little bit of that. Okay, well, then go run where you actually got to compete against other dogs in marks and blinds, right?
Yeah.
That's your level. Now, if you're a hunter, because we said we correlate this with hunting, we're going to finish this off with, if you got a master hunter, I don't care if it's a C average or a high average of how you got that title, that dog literally has been trained for anything that happens on a duck hunt to accomplish it for you. All right? Senior, you're still mid-level green. There is not one thing, and I explained this in the last podcast, that I cannot do with Journey and Cowboy on a duck hunt. From steadiness, to blinds, to multiple marks, to rolling a cripple, to sending them 300 yards to kick birds that landed on the wrong part of the field and calling no bird and bringing them back, to taking them to taking them down and telling them to hunt them up and track down a wounded goose that landed 200 yards that we don't know exactly where it landed, right? To going in the marsh and it landed behind us, and 2 hours later going back there and see if we can find the cripples. There's not a thing I can't do with them. To going on a snow goose hunt and picking up a 400-yard blind with a snow goose laying out there way out there in open field, just, over a hump on the other side of a little hillside of a ditch line. And I send him up over that ditch, and here he comes back with a goose because I can run a 400-yard blind, right? There ain't a thing I can't do with them. So when you're listening to this, and as we're parting here, what level satisfies you? I would say if you become a retriever enthusiast, you're going to just get the bug like you got to want to see if your dog can keep going to those next levels. If your dog can keep going to those next levels, the door is wide open.
Yep.
And in the future, what's going to be cool is, right now we're filming the fetch process and we're filming the puppy process. Then we got to film the steadiness process. Then we got to film the marking process. Then we got to go into filming the blind process. We're still out there ways for being able to release wing masters the way we want to. But what you can be doing right now is already learning how it's going to go. And eventually you're going to be able to follow along with me on each one of these processes and do it yourself, which is what I did. I built all my master hunters by myself. So I think it's good to, yes, I'm going to go to the Master National. You guys are following with me. So I am going now. These dogs have gotten me going to the Master National. While we're on here.
We should do a podcast on there.
Oh, yeah, I think that's what we need to do is do a podcast. That's what we'll do. What we should really do
is... Mike would have invited me.
Yeah. You're invited, and you better have that camera, and you better never not be behind it. So we are in hunt test mode right now. So we're a little inconsistent with the podcast just because we're working so hard. This is our busy time of the year.
I can't believe Mike's home right now.
Yeah, I can't even believe I'm sitting home right now. Normally I'd be at a test texting Alec what's going on. But so bear with us on that. We have a guest that we've already pre-recorded that we need to get on in a week here that we're going to start talking to him and start releasing the episodes we did with him, which is awesome.
Unfortunately, he was judging a qual. Otherwise, you would know right now.
Yeah, otherwise we'd know right now. Otherwise, he was going to come on right now, but he was actually judging a qual. So we got other guests lined up that we're going to be excited to bring on guests, which is going to make it. But Alec and I jump on to touch different subjects to get you to be able to understand things from an inside view, where if I'm just talking with a guest, you're not going to get these inside views, So, what do we got cooking? All right. The Upland Seminar is coming August 9th, 10th, and 11th. That seminar is Friday. We do all shooting, improving your shooting. It's noon to 5. It's all about shooting. All right. Improve your shotgunning. Saturday is all about dog training and dog handling. Sunday is about you learning how to handle your dog in field and shoot some birds for your dog. Is what our annual Upland. We're the only one of its kind. I'm one of the only people that runs this type of seminar. I'm one of the only people in the country that runs a tournament hunting seminar. I've been very proud of it because it's been like 5 years. So, and let me know if anybody else is doing it because I'll sue them because, no, I'm just kidding. Because you can't do this because this is mine.
Tammy?
Yeah, Tammy. Get
her.
Yeah. Come on, sick them. Get after them. So, thank you for hanging with us. This has been going. If you are looking for merch, hit us up for merch. We got some new hats in. We got hoodies in that you're gonna need.
Shirts are coming.
Shirts are coming. Things are in the busy stages of our summer, so we're dedicated to the dogs first. You guys know that. And when you're listening to our podcast, that you understand. But so thank you for joining us on this, guys. Is there anything you'd like to say, Alec, is on the end of this thing?
Oh, we're excited.
Okay, we're excited We're excited to get back with you. We're gonna get on here now. We're gonna get this released out. So thank you for hanging with us on another episode 7.
Thank you.
We are out, and we will see you soon.
Sponsored by the Blast CBD.
On sale soon.
On sale soon.
See you, everybody.